You know, cool. All right, so my name is Mark Pascal. As I mentioned, I'm the co-founder of the Wellbeing Protocol. So, over the next few minutes, I'm just going to give a short presentation around covering off I guess, the why behind the project, the problem we're trying to solve, talk about some of the research that has influenced us, and then drill down into specific architecture and approach we've taken. So, what are we? So, we're a project actually began as a research initiative funded by the New Zealand government to explore how Indigenous Maori values of localism, collectivism could be combined with new emerging technologies, and how that might be combined to essentially reimagine the community grant systems, the money that the government uses to get money out to especially hard to reach community groups. Since then, that early experiment, we've raised money from a whole bunch of other organizations to help us achieve a more ambitious goal to create this global infrastructure to scale localism. We're a social enterprise, we've got charitable status in New Zealand, and our purpose is really to maximize impact and not profit. Uh, okay, so stepping back a little bit, why would we want to scale localism and what's wrong with the way we fund social good currently? And that kind of leads on to a bigger question. Why do we need social welfare? Why do we need philanthropy? Uh, Essentially, it's because the world is an unequal place. And in this capitalist society that we live in, there will always be segments of society that don't do so well. It's often the marginalized, the disadvantaged, the colonized. But as a species, we're kind of hardwired to care. It really wasn't so long ago in our human history that our very survival depended on being part of small groups of people, villages, tribes, communities. And the problem is that one of the features of capitalism is that it's constantly striving for efficiency. And technology has increased that efficiency in the form of economy of scale, centralization, bigger computers, bigger companies, bigger government. And the really unfortunate side effect of that centralization is that the gap between the rich and the poor is increasing. And what we're seeing is our social welfare, philanthropic systems are just struggling to cope, and it's getting worse. Uh, but if you ask the people in those systems, what are some of the challenges, you get a whole host of responses from dependency and short-term funding, inefficiency, bureaucracy, the challenge around measuring impact, inequality of resource distribution, outsider driven, and this is quite a core one, this I guess effect that the people outside of the system are making decisions that affect the people in the system. Fraud, corruption, lack of transparency, fragility, political influence, burnout, and the list goes on. Uh, but you can almost boil some of those down into kind of four key issues: inefficiency, inequitability, a power imbalance, and fragility. And this kind of results in this system that sort of perpetuates dependency, and it's really hard to create systemic change when you've got such a sort of burgeoning, complex bureaucratic system. So, how might we reimagine a social good system from the ground up? We believe one of the keys to a better approach is this concept of localism. So localism, a focus on local communities, economies, governance, or culture. It emphasizes self-sufficiency, local decision-making, and community-driven solutions. And I guess in our hearts, we all know that working on things in a community that we care about is good. And the reason it's good is because it builds other forms of capital, not only financial, material capital, but other forms of capital, social, intellectual, natural, experiential, cultural. And these are the things that the science is actually showing us are really good for our well-being. But we're constantly fighting this very powerful force of technology-driven hypercapitalism that's working very hard to decimate our real-life communities. And there's actually strong evidence to support the fact that community building can actually have so many other benefits. This is a place called Frome in Somerset in southwest England. They did a fascinating 3-year public health experiment a few years ago, where they invested in community building, but they measured hospital admissions during those 3 years in their county and compared it with surrounding counties, and saw this astounding drop and change. It was about 47% difference in hospital admissions when you invest in community building. And it was covered in the New York Times and the Guardian. It made international press at the time. And we're actually now working with Froome to roll out what we built in that community, which is really exciting. So if we believe that localism is good, how might we build new economic systems that actually incentivize and support localism at scale? Because it's all very well doing it, and we all know lovely examples of community groups, but how do we scale that to make real serious impact? One of the clues is the groundbreaking research done by Eleanor Ostrom, which some of you may have come across her work. But Eleanor was the first woman to win the Nobel Prize for economics, and she was a big believer of localism. This is one of her famous quotes. There's no reason to believe that bureaucrats and politicians, no matter how well-meaning, are better at solving the problems than the people on the spot who have the strongest incentive to get the solution right. But Eleanor came at the problem from quite an interesting angle. She came at it from a how do you manage the commons or common pool resources, as she described it. And the commons are these things that nobody owns, but we all benefit from. So it could be the stream in between my farm and your farm, or the air we breathe, et cetera, et cetera. And she challenged the traditional Western philosophy that the commons always gets trashed. Essentially, if you don't own it or regulate it, it gets trashed. But she challenged this prevailing assumption, went around the world, studied a lot of indigenous cultures, and really concluded that there are lots of examples where the commons are protected, they are looked after. And she distilled what she found into the really quite famous eight principles of commons management. And you can Google this to go into more detail. Uh, so we a few years ago we began thinking about how could community well-being be considered a type of commons? If you think about it, a small group in living in a housing complex or a street, they can all contribute to the collective well-being of their community, or they can act selfishly. They can turn up their stereo and enjoy their famous song they love, or they can respect others and work together for common good. Current economic systems have been developed on this highly centralized financial banking tech infrastructure. They're equal to genuinely push power and control out to the edges, out to the communities. And because there's always this powerful
Great. Sorry to
bureaucratic,
interrupt.
there's always
Sorry.
full bureaucrat.
Sorry to interrupt, Mark. It looks like it was just getting a little bit choppy there in the last 30 seconds or so. Do you mind just like,
Okay,
I think it was
all
like
right.
right after the
Yeah,
idea, right after the idea of like community as commons. I think that's yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me just move just a
No
little bit
problem.
closer to the Wi-Fi.
No problem.
It's possible. It's possible that
It's been
I
totally
might.
fine until now.
Okay, all right. I'll just
Awesome.
move. I'll move a bit closer. Uh, excuse me. I'm just in a should be better. Okay. Uh, yeah. Right. Where was I? So, what did you say? The
Right from the idea that community as commons. I think
yeah,
we're starting to go into like the economic bit of it, and then
yeah,
that's where I cut out.
yeah, yeah. Yes. So we can think about whether uh, community well-being could be thought of as a type of commons that could be where we apply these rules and we could create new economic systems that supported localism and community well-being. But the problem is that our current economic systems have been developed on this highly centralized financial banking tech infrastructure. Uh, and and this makes it very difficult to actually genuinely push power and control out to the edges to the communities. There's always this powerful bureaucrat, politician, banker, tech bro who has got this ultimate power to shut things down, to corrupt, to influence our systems. Oops, sorry, I'm just going to move somewhere else. That should be better. Uh, we need to, if we're going to build something that's going to be truly global, truly scalable, we need to build it on a different infrastructure, a different substrate. Uh, and this is where the blockchain and Web3 come in. And this presentation isn't really about the sort of the plumbing, the technology, but I just want to mention a couple of key things that are important because the blockchain does a number of things. It allows us to create new forms of money. And you've probably heard of Bitcoin. I'm not a big fan of Bitcoin. It's this sort of volatile, environmentally unfriendly digital gold equivalent. Um, but what blockchain does, it allows us to create utility tokens. So these are tokens that can have some sort of value in the world. We can also create stable coins. These are pegged to some sort of fiat currency, so we avoid that volatility problem that's plagued crypto. But more fundamentally, what blockchain does is this concept of a smart contract. So this is a digital set of rules that runs itself without needing people to oversee or enforce it. And this is really quite a fundamental principle because we've never had that before. Any other set of logic that we upload to Amazon or Google Cloud or whatever is always controlled by the big tech bros. They can ultimately shut it down. Blockchain is different. So we can create efficient, transparent, and incorruptible systems. So Web3 gives us programmable value flow, new forms of governance, and the ability to build decentralized, community-controlled digital systems. I'm going to move a little bit further away. Yep. Oops. Sorry, I'm just in this.
No, no, don't worry. Don't worry.
Okay. Right. So what we started to do was, so let's move from the abstract to the more practical. How might we start to encode Ostrom's principles into this new infrastructure and redirect philanthropic or social welfare money towards hyperlocal groups in ways that reduces the power imbalance? Okay, so let's drill down into the stakeholder groups. So first of all, community. So we've been working at the hyperlocal level. So this could be 12 people who want to create a community garden or 100 tenants in a social housing complex who want to improve community health, or 150 parents associated with a school who want to reduce child mental health issues. It's really any group of people who have a strong desire to make a difference or who have a common challenge. Okay, so what do they want? I guess we don't know, but we can assume they want well-being, happiness. They want to make their own decisions, and they want to build capital, and they want to become more resilient. Okay, the second stakeholder group is the funder. So this is the person or organization who wants to use financial capital for social good. Okay, and what do they want? Well, we can assume they want efficiency, they want equitability, they want value alignment. The third group is the partner. So this is the local community development organization, the social enterprise, the charity. These are organizations that sit between the funder and the community, have decades of experience in the community. But what they want is to maximize impact. They want to spend less time raising money. If you speak to a lot of these organizations, they devote a significant amount of their resources trying to apply for grants, trying to raise money. And they want some certainty of income so they can pay staff, etc. So the architecture we've been employing is this. So we have the partner whose funds doing good, we have the community who's doing good, and then we have the partner who has two roles. They're supporting the community. And that's important because any digital solution is only one part of the solution. Communities, especially the marginalized and disadvantaged, they need support. They need good old human support. We've got digital exclusion problems with all sorts of issues. So they need support. So the partner's there to support the community, but they're also there to provide proof of good to the funder because the funder is typically one step removed from the community. So imagine if the community group could have their own digital treasury that they controlled, okay? And in order to do that, because it's not that simple, because you can't just drop a briefcase of money into a community hall. It probably isn't going to go so well. You need a few things in place. One, you need a constitution. So this is a document that specifies, hey, if we get money from funders, this is what we're going to do with it. This is the purpose of this group, of this treasury. And then the bit that we've spent, a couple of years building and trialing is this essentially workflow governance tool, and it takes the form of an app and a web thing. So the community can come up with ideas, they can take them through to proposals and projects, and essentially it spits out micro grants. So it's a it's a constant stream of micro grants that go out to the community. And this is what it looks like. And I haven't really got time at the moment, but potentially if we've got time later, I can give you a demo. But essentially, it's an app on the left-hand side. This is just a few screenshots from the app. We have the ability to create new ideas. Okay, I want to buy some spades for the community garden. And then it goes through a bit of a process of we have community stewards who help the person who came up with the idea morph it into a proposal, and everything is voted on at every stage. So we've used some really interesting technology called quadratic voting and conviction voting. We've got dynamic thresholds, so cheaper proposals are more get passed quicker, and and we've got delegated voting. If you want to sort of delegate your votes to your somebody else in your community, that's fine. And so so we've got, and I'm very happy to share a demo. We've got a little YouTube demo of the app, so anybody who wants to have a look at it in more detail. Okay, so that's the right hand side. That's the community part. So what we've also built is the infrastructure to support the partner, because remember the partner is providing proof of good. So the partner streams money into the community treasury. Uh, and these treasuries, these are on the blockchain. That these are like bank accounts, but they're not. They're essentially blockchain components. So the partner is one of the tasks that the partner has is to stream money into the community treasury based on whether the community is upholding their constitution. So they might put 5,000 every month or something into the community treasury. If the community continues to use it wisely as per the constitution, they put the next tranche of money in. Okay. But they do that based on information. So they have a dashboard they log into and they see real-time information around what the community is doing, and they make that call. They also have a partner escrow account, which feeds money into the community escrow. And we have a partner escrow account because partners often will be supporting many communities. So money in their escrow, they can make a call. It should go into this community escrow or that community escrow, but it can only flow one way. It can only flow down from left to right. Then we have the funder, who can do two things. They can put money into the partner escrow if they trust the partner to make the call, or they may have a specific community project, so they can put it directly into the community escrow. And they have their own dashboard. They see real-time information that is being fed from both the community and the partner. So this architecture is interesting in a couple of ways. One, we can hard code the business rules and the value transfer into the blockchain, into smart contracts. It's incorruptible. It can't leak money. The partner actually doesn't actually touch any real money. They take a cut when they make the transfer from the community escrow to the community treasury. They have a pre-agreed cut, 5%, 15%, or whatever they say, but that's all transparent. But yes, and so we can hard code the rules. It's incorruptible and everything is fully transparent. Both the value flow and the business rules are all transparent, and the blockchain can be independently audited. Now, one of the challenges with the blockchain tokens, is that there's this friction at the moment between blockchain stuff and real world money. And you can't go into the grocery store and you pay Bitcoin. And also funders get very nervous about crypto funny money. So it creates this problem. We're convinced that's going to change over time, but for now it's a problem. Uh, I'll come back to how we solve that in a minute, but just to sort of give you a bit of insight into the dashboards. So this is just a couple of screenshots from the funder and the partner dashboards. So yeah, again, super easy to use. They can see who they're funding. They can see the projects, the projects that they're funding. So just coming back to this problem of how we address this friction between crypto tokens and real life money. So what we've done is to essentially put this economy And you can think of this diagram as a well-being economy. It's a bit like walking into a casino and converting your money into chips. In a casino, you can only use those chips to gamble. In our economy, you can only use those chips for social good. So essentially, we put that economy into a black box and we say to the funder, okay, put money into this thing and you'll get access. You'll essentially top up your accounts and you can use your dashboard to allocate money. But essentially, what you're doing, you're not actually, when you put money in, you're actually paying a fiscal host, a charity in the country that you live. So a trusted institution, you're giving them the money. But at the same time, as if you give them $10,000, we will mint 10,000 of our tokens in our economy, which represent a dollar or a pound or whatever unit currency. So then it flows through the system and then it flows out at two key points. One is the funder, so the partner gets their cut, so they get paid some money. But also each micro grant that when the system triggers a micro grant, the fiscal host is notified and they're told to pay the community that money, the $100. So essentially, it's a micro granting sort of economic system with funder inputs and micro grants out. And the exciting thing is, as this scales, it starts to look like more like a global infrastructure. Where anybody in the world, and this isn't, we haven't built this part yet, but that's the logical next step. Anybody in the world could sort of search for environmental groups in a town or whatever is interesting to them, and they could fund it instantly and get real-time feedback, impact feedback. But even this is kind of the first step towards, true community empowerment. Because if you think about a group of people who are controlling a treasury, that's like a cooperative. That's like a mini government or a mini company. And that's essentially what we built, a way for people to govern a treasury. So there's no reason that group couldn't actually start to hold assets. They could buy the community garden or the solar battery in their community or whatever, and those assets could generate their own income and they could become less dependent on funders. So that's the kind of the true empowerment part later on. So yeah, so that's kind of the presentation. Very happy to answer questions or explore ideas.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mark. I've heard you talk about this, I think like 3 times now, but every time I'm still like with my pen, just scribbling so much because it's amazing. I have 2 questions in the chat from Faizan, who was worried that he was going to lose his voice. So I will read those out. And then anyone else can jump in with questions after that. But the first question, and this is an interesting one, was what preconceived notions of yours potentially challenged when you started versus now? How did you integrate the new context and like what were the struggles around those? So I'm interpreting this to mean, yeah, like from starting it to now, what are things that you've kind of learned along the way and had to kind of adapt? Faizan, jump in if I've not gotten that right.
Yeah, well, this actually project started 4 years ago, and originally we actually started working with community currencies. We thought that would be a great way to build an economic system that, a local currency. And we did that, and we ran a trial, and it got quite a lot of press in New Zealand. Like we got on the TV, and I got into trouble with the Reserve Bank and blah blah blah. But one of the key lessons we learned was, we started as a couple of white privileged guys, going into this low socioeconomic community. We with no community development experience. This was a real wake up call for us, and we sort of mitigated that trust problem a little bit by working with a local charity and a local iwi, a local tribe. But but that trial was quite short lived. We had limited funding, but it was that realization after that trial. Oh my God, why would these people trust us? We're part of this world that has done really badly for them. We're part of that sort of privileged, we can't be those white saviors. So it was then we sort of pivoted into, okay, well, we need to solve a governance trust problem first before we can build a tool like a community currency or a savings pool or whatever. So then that was the pivot into, okay, well, we need to build something that we don't control. The community controls. And so then it became a governance challenge and more of a sort of blockchain thing. And how can we create these new things? So that was one of the key learnings is that sort of trust problem, and we are part of the problem. So we have to build something that is truly that is trustless from yeah, that they don't have to trust us.
That makes a lot of sense. And then the second question is, can the well-being